Today, President Obama announced he's closing Gitmo again.
When it becomes clear that something is not working as intended, when it does not advance our security, we have to change course. The detention facility at Guantanamo Bay does not advance our national security. It undermines it. It's counterproductive to our fight against terrorists because they use it as propaganda in their efforts to recruit.
You know when you become so obsessed with one thing that you ignore everything else? It's the mark of a cat lady. Consumed by felines, she shuns family, hygiene, concerned neighbors. Gitmo is Obama's pile of cats. He's so obsessed by it, his house stinks. And at the expense of our safety, he'd release high-risk heathens, knowing many head right back out to kill. And it's all based on a myth that bad things done to us are caused by mean things we did first, like Gitmo. As a recruitment tool, it breeds terror. So I guess Gitmo caused terrorists to invent a time machine to go back to September 11th and attack us? That's crazy. This must make those Americans working at Gitmo feel great. Your president thinks you caused terror. He also says Gitmo undermines our standing in the world. Sorry, Gitmo didn't do that. For that answer, find a West Wing mirror. He also says Gitmo's pricey, the first time in history a leftist cares about your money. But Gitmo shaming gives leftists a fake concern without having to judge our enemies, like, say, Cuba. Seriously, of all the bad things in Cuba, what bugs Obama is Gitmo. Forget the 4 decades of socialist hell run by murderous leftists turning every person into a pauper. Yeah, Gitmo's worse. You know Cuba has no freedom of the press. I guess freeing terrorists takes priority. To him, that's closing a chapter on our history. Makes you wonder what book he's been reading. I don't even know what I'm implying there. So, Eric, you know what his whole thing as president, it's not working, so we need to change course. He's used that for every single argument.
Even more egregious is Gitmo undermines our national security. Terrorists use it as a propaganda tool to recruit. Is there any proof at all whatsoever?
No,
I mean, can you name one thing? He says, oh, everyone says these things. Just give us some proof. Next thing, by the numbers. We point out there's, what, 95 Gitmo detainees still there? 28.6% recidivism rate. That means only about 25 of them will go back into the battlefield and try and kill us again. Great. And the last one, because I love the money, here's the basis he said. He said, if we close Gitmo, we'll save $85 million a year. Think about this on 2 levels. $85 million a year, how much will we spend not to have those people go back into the battle? But that means we're spending $120 million a year on 56 detainees, because that's what will be left. He's going to release 35. There'll be 56 left. $120 million per year for 56. We're spending $2 million per detainee. And this is what he's worried about, a few bucks? Come on, this is insane. This is all legacy. That's
but it's just ridiculous. But he's putting his own legacy and ego ahead of national security again, and the future of the American people dealing with this. This is ridiculous. Everybody knows the guys that are still left in there, they're amongst the worst, most violent terrorists. And was it just last week, on February 17th, you had one of the former bin Laden aides basically crowned as one of the top terrorists in the world. So good job. Keep on repatriating terrorists in the world and recycling them like dirty laundry. They're coming back out to reoffend again. It's so disrespectful to all the men and women that have served and worked so hard, lost their lives or lost limbs to protect this country, and put these guys away just for our own president to release them.
And now a moment for another point of view.
Well, wait,
let me just say, I just find this. Go right ahead.
I was just going to I was going to come to you, but first I want to, for another point of view, I want to go to President Obama.
Go right ahead.
Some of the fears of the public that have been fanned oftentimes by misinformation, there continues to be a fair amount of opposition to closing Guantanamo, even in an election year. We should be able to have an open, honest, good faith dialogue about how to best ensure our national security. And the fact that I'm no longer running, Joe is no longer running, we're not on the ballot, it gives us the capacity to not have to worry about the politics.
All right, so Juan, a good faith dialogue means agree with Obama, and that he's not on the ballot is translated, I'm going to do whatever I want.
No, in fact, he has the option to do what he wants to do through executive action. He has not done so, And not only has he not done so, but I think people in the military and in his old administration said, you know, this is not the way to go on this issue.
You can
but I want to respond to Eric, because I think you were wrong on every single point.
Whoa.
I think that if you look at what goes on in Guantanamo and you say, who else agrees with this? What evidence is there of this? I can't tell you how many times military people have said to me, this is a propaganda
There it is.
windfall.
I can't tell how. Well, how about you come out this time?
No, let me just tell you.
Obama comes
and
out.
I'm not going to tell you.
And let me just tell you, the number one, I think, example of this would be a man who was held as a military prisoner, and that's John McCain, a Republican.
Can I just ask
no,
you
let
one
me
thing?
let me finish
All right.
my point.
Yeah.
Okay, the second thing to say is, gosh, you know, we have released, I think, the majority of people who were once held at Guantanamo Bay. And, you know, the recidivism rate you talk about, how many times do you think they're out there recruiting people? There's no shortage of people.
Can I just ask one question, Juan? One question.
I never interrupt you, but go right ahead.
Do you think the terrorists are now going to say, if we bring these detainees to America in Colorado, the terrorism is going to say, okay, we're good now.
No.
We're all good now because Gitmo, we have a problem.
That was the problem.
We're okay.
That was the problem.
Now we like you.
No, I think that
Yeah,
there's something to be said about the idea that we don't hold people indefinitely without charging them.
I think
we don't do this in such a way that just says, oh, you know, we put people in a hellhole and leave them there and then say, you know what, so what? That's the way we behave? No, we should not become monsters in this regard. And don't forget, you asked about another person who said Gitmo was a bad idea. How about George W. Bush?
All right.
Because he didn't want to have it, but it wasn't necessary. And it's not a hellhole. Did you see?
Yeah.
It's actually
Remember the
quite
big
charming.
It's better than Cuba.
Yeah,
Gitmo is better than Cuba.
And Venezuela.
Can I make one serious point, though?
Sure.
Or did you have a question for me?
My question is,
They have
Obama's
toilet
going to
paper and
Cuba.
milk there.
Shouldn't he stop at Gitmo and shake the hands of all the people that work there?
Don't you think he probably will? And then he'll say, by the way, you all get to go home?
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Great beach.
He said, because I'm not on the ballot, I don't have to worry about the politics.
Yeah.
I'm going to get to that. And he's ignoring the law. 98 to 2, I think, or something like that, or 97 to 3 in the United States Senate said that they, by partisan agreement, no terrorists will be allowed to be transferred onto U.S. soil. That is law. Speaker Ryan again reiterated that today, and so did Leader.
This is going to be
what about the shoe bomber, the Times Square bomber, the airplane bomber? They're all on U.S. soil in American prisons, properly convicted.
They were
at
caught
Guantanamo
here.
Bay. No one convicted.
They were caught on U.S. soil.
Why?
Juan, that
Why
makes a
did
difference.
President Obama stop the military tribunals then?
He didn't stop them.
Yes.
No,
Yes,
he
he
didn't.
did.
No, they're
Why
still
has it gone on so
because
long?
they are going nowhere, Dana. They're a
Because
waste.
it's like grinding to a halt. Let me tell you the other thing on politics of this is that he says he doesn't have to worry about the politics. I think that Hillary Clinton and all the rest of the Democrats running in swing states will disagree. In fact, Hillary Clinton already has. In Colorado about 4 months ago, in doing an interview with local media, she had previously had a position that it would be fine to bring terrorists to the Supermax prison in Colorado. 4 months ago, she's like, oh, no, I'm not. No, I've changed my position on that. I don't want that. So he might not think that he has to worry about the politics, but all the other Democrats do.
She's 100%
And remember,
right.
about 85% of Republicans in South Carolina said that they supported the idea, Donald Trump's idea, of the temporary ban on Muslims coming into the country. I bet that number is probably the case across the country. So if you're Debbie Wasserman Schultz, you don't like this idea this morning.
15 years after 9/11, not a single guilty verdict against anyone at Guantanamo Bay.
All right,
Not their
we're
fault.
telling me we got to go. By the way, Legacy, it's all about legacy, which would be the great name of Fox News show, The History of Hot Legs. Legacy.
Greg, get out of here.
All right.
I'm ready.
There you go. Kimberly hosts.